All right, so this is how I went from being a gi player to a no gi player. I did say on Instagram that it was a fairly interesting story. I'm not sure that it is. I was a gi only player mainly because the gym I trained at in Washington, we had a fundamentals class. It was a fundamentals program, I should say. It was like, I think 90 days long, 3 months long. And it required a gi. So most guys took the first couple of classes with their gym shorts and their t-shirts, and then they ordered a gi and finished the 3-month program. And then if everything goes right, I think you get a stripe on your belt, if I remember correctly, and then you can go to the normal class, which was downstairs. It was a 2-floor facility. And I think I went to one no-gi class because the schedule was aligned, and I didn't really know Ricky Bobby. I didn't know what to do with my hands, and I was training with a guy named Chris Little, who's not little at all. He's huge. Shout out to Chris Little. And I remember him saying, yeah, I told him it was my first no-gi class, and he's like, yeah, I like the gi more. You can grip better and whatever. And I'm like, okay, yeah, me too. That's what I'm used to. So I just stuck with the gi, and then I think I was about a year into training, so still pretty new. I probably had a couple stripes on my white belt, and I had a family member, first cousin, I wasn't overly close with, but we grew up together, and he was in the military like me. I was out at the time, but he was still in. He got stationed to where I was living in Washington, and so he moved to the town that I was living in. And he came over to watch some UFC fights, and I remember telling him about jiu-jitsu and how awesome it was. And then we ended up, I guess you could call it rolling in the living room floor. And, you know, we're just in t-shirt and shorts. And he's a big guy, a lot bigger than me. And I couldn't really do much. Which I know is goofy, right? It's a living room floor grappling match with a family member, but we rolled around the floor. I think I eventually got him in an arm lock, but the whole time I remember thinking, I should be able to do more. And what was killing me was I didn't have that lapel, and I didn't have the sleeve, and that was killing me. I couldn't get the grips I wanted. I couldn't control his posture the way I wanted to. If I got a grip on his arm, he would pull it out. And I was embarrassed. And then afterwards, and he probably didn't know any better, he was like, wow, that was cool. And then afterwards, I even said out loud, I said, I probably could have done a lot more had, you know, we trained in the gi. So you'd have a collar, you'd have a sleeve, and I'd be able to hold you and control you a lot better. And I said that out loud. And then the next day I was thinking, I'm like, that's so embarrassing. What a piss poor excuse that I've been training. I think it was about a year at the time. And I was like, man, that's sad. It's sad that was my excuse why I couldn't do more, and how I couldn't control them, and how if you only had a jacket on, I could grab it and manipulate you better. And then, and this isn't a video on what's more practical or whatever. I think that's a goofy way to look at it. You know, gi's more practical, no gi's more practical. They go back and forth. It's silly. It depends on the environment, of course, but that's not what this is about. The fact is, I felt like I needed those grips in order to perform the little jiu-jitsu I knew, but I thought that was sad. And I was a little embarrassed, and I said, I should be able to do more without being so, you know, over-relying on these grips. So it was that point moving forward, I really got into the gi. I got out of the gi, and I got really into no gi. And I was like, well, I want to be able to do jiu-jitsu and do moves regardless of what they're wearing. And even if they, you know, there's nothing to grab, I want to be able to control and do effective grappling without it. So not that interesting, I know, but that was really my eye-opener. And this is not a practical versus non-practical video. It's not at all. It was just, that's what really opened my eyes to, like, wow, without these grips, I'm not as good as I think I am. And then that was what really pushed me into doing a lot more no-gi. And then for the millionth time, not a practical video, but in doing the no-gi, that's why I started doing it. But in doing it, I just fell in love with it. So that's it. Not very interesting, but that really opened my eyes. And then it got me to go to a lot more no-gi classes at my gym at the time. And then I went from there. I just started enjoying that version of the art better. So that's it. That's all I got.